Hey everyone, this is Bill Krieger from the Veterans Archives podcast, where we preserve and share the incredible stories of our nation's heroes. Catch us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Wreaths Across America Radio, or stream anytime on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Really, anywhere you choose to get your podcast, you should be able to find us. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on social media to help us reach more veterans and supporters. We are a nonprofit, and this service is completely free for veterans. Every story matters, and every voice deserves to be heard. Spread the word, honor our heroes, and join us on this mission. Follow, share, and tune in, because their story should never be forgotten. Learn more at veteransarchives.org. We'll see you there. Today is Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. We're talking with Bill Walton, who served in the United States Army. Well, good afternoon, Bill.
Good afternoon.
It's good to see you today.
Good to see you too.
All right, we're going to start kind of simple. When and where were you born?
Lansing, Michigan.
Okay.
1948.
All right. And did you grow up in Lansing?
Most of my life, yes.
All right. Where in Lansing did you grow up?
Colonial Village.
Oh.
Off of Mount Hope, and yeah.
Over by Dwight Rich School, I think, is over there now.
I don't know.
Might not have been there back in the
probably wasn't.
Back in the day, right?
The golf course for the club.
Oh, the Lansing Country Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just down the street. We used to putt on their greens.
Did you? Did they know that?
No.
Well, did you have brothers and sisters?
I had a brother.
Okay.
And we think two more brothers that died, but I don't know. I haven't been able to find them.
All right. Was your brother older than you or younger than you?
I think I'm the youngest.
Okay.
So they're all older. My brother's 6 years older than me.
Okay. And what, if anything, do you recall about growing up in Lansing at that time? Do you remember anything that you did as a kid? I know you putted on the country club's greens for sure. Anything else you remember?
Well, yeah, my life. I went to school there and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. What was school like for you?
It was okay until the nuns started picking on us.
Oh, okay. So you went to parochial school? You went to Catholic?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. This was back in the day where they hit your knuckles with a ruler too, isn't it?
They did.
Did they?
Yes. We were picked on.
Now,
and if you were a little bit like I was, a troublemaker, we got picked on even worse.
I can't imagine that you were a troublemaker.
Yeah.
What kind of trouble did you get into in school?
Oh, I hid behind the piano in one of our classes, and she walked in, looked around, and said, "Okay, William, come to me." And I got spanked, I think. I don't know if she spanked me or my dad did, but one of us got there. I got spanked anyway.
Yeah. Now, did you go to Catholic school throughout school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And did you play sports or anything like that in school?
In 8th grade, I played football for the team for our school.
Okay.
St. Casimir's.
Okay. I'm familiar with St. Casimir's. I think there was St. Casimir's and Resurrection was there.
No, St. Casimir's is out in South Lansing.
Yeah.
And the other, I don't know.
Okay. So did you play just that 1 year?
No, I played 2 or 3 years there.
Mm-hmm. And how'd you like it?
It was all right.
Yeah. Were there any subjects in school that you really enjoyed?
No.
School wasn't your thing?
No.
Okay.
I'd rather have gone out and did about anything rather than spend time doing homework and stuff.
I see. So what about your parents? What can you tell me about your mom and dad? Anything that comes to mind?
My dad worked at Oldsmobile. Mom worked for a doctor's office. To do brakes and arm brakes and things like that. Broken bones, I should say.
Okay. So was she a nurse then, or just she just worked there?
A doctor.
Oh, your mom was a doctor.
Oh no, my mom was. She'd take the calls and set up the appointments.
Okay. And they both did that till they retired, or?
Yeah, my dad did it. I think my dad died on the way to work.
Oh.
I think.
Okay.
He not on the way to work, but getting ready for work. He died in the bathroom.
Oh,
Had a heart attack and died.
okay.
So I've been without a dad for a lot of years.
How old were you when your dad passed away?
14, 15 maybe.
Oh, so you were a young guy.
Yeah.
All right.
No, Dad.
Hmm?
No, I was a baby. Remember?
Oh, that's right.
I was a baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
My memory's starting to leave me, so.
Oh, believe me, I have to wear a name tag most of the time to remember who I am. So I'm 100% with you. So, so you graduated high school,
Yes.
and then so what happens after high school?
I worked for a company that did shingling.
Okay.
And I worked shingling
Okay.
houses.
And then when did you end up joining the military?
I didn't join it.
Okay, let's
I
talk
was
about
drafted.
that. You were drafted.
Yes.
Okay. Would have been what, the mid '60s then?
Would have been 67.
Okay. And were you married at the time?
No.
No. All right. Where did you go to basic training?
Fort Knox.
Okay. And what do you remember about basic training?
I don't know.
Okay.
We just got up in the morning, did everything we had to do, and go to bed at night.
Uh-huh.
We knew about the last week of our training where we were going.
Okay.
They gave it away. They said, "You guys are." I was a radio operator, and I was carrying a radio for the boss.
Okay. And so when you left did you stay at Fort Knox for the rest of your training, or did
No,
you?
I went to another post. It was, I hate to say it, that's the only way I remember it. Fort Puke, Louisiana.
I know Fort Polk. I know where you're talking about.
That was a couple of weeks we spent there.
Okay.
And then we went to different places overseas.
Uh-huh.
There was a guy that was with me right from the start to the very end, lived in Grand Rapids at the time. His dad was a range officer for Grand Rapids PD. So him and I were best buds. And then when we went to Vietnam, they split us up.
Okay.
He went south towards Saigon, and I went north towards the DMZ.
All right. And what kind of things did you do in Vietnam?
I carried a radio, so I was constantly talking on the radio. I remember our training when I was still at Fort Knox, and we were involved in it, but we didn't know what we were getting into. And he went, like I said, he went south to Saigon, and I went north to that DMZ. We never saw each other until my wife died a few years ago. When she died, I saw him. And I didn't know who he was. I hadn't seen him in 50 years or whatever.
Yeah. What was it like seeing him again?
Oh, it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you met up with any of your other people that you served with?
No.
Just him? Okay.
Yeah, we took a beating when I was in. We lost a lot of guys.
Yeah.
So we didn't see them at all.
Okay. What kind of unit were you in?
Infantry.
Infantry. All right. So you were right there on the front line then.
Front line, middle line, and then dragging up the rear.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a typical war, was it?
No. Well, I don't know. That was the only war I ever knew.
Right. Yep.
And in May 12, 68, I got wounded and went back to a hospital there. And, well, we could walk. They let us walk around. If you were in crutches, you could be on crutches. And I could walk. And I see a guy and I went, Maleko? His name was Maleko, Dave Maleko. He was a year ahead of me in high school, played basketball for our team, for the high school. And I said, how the hell did you get here? Drafted. So they weren't picky on who they drafted. Not saying that he's picky.
Right.
more than I was, because I knew who he was.
Uh-huh.
I know we're in the same situation, yet he was a star in high school basketball. But that was kind of unique to run into somebody you knew.
Yeah.
Millions, well, not millions, thousands of guys were over there, and I run into a guy that I knew.
Kind of brings a little piece of home.
Kinda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was kind of unique.
Yeah.
I had one little story. I got shot in the leg. I got fresh shrapnel in my legs.
Mm-hmm.
And they took us in off of an airplane, not a helicopter. We weren't picked up by helicopters. We drove in, or flew in a C-130. And when we got there, they pushed me. I was awake enough that I knew what was going on, and we were up for about 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so they pushed me over, had wheels on the cart. They pushed me over to a triage area. And that triage area, I fell asleep. And I commented to the lady, the nurse, how tall she was. And she said, why do you think I'm tall? I said, well, aren't you? And she goes, no, I'm like 5'5" or something like that. And she said, do you realize you're on the floor? I got taken off of a gurney onto a stretcher.
Oh.
That's why I was... And I thought, what a dumbass.
So you thought you were sitting way up here, right?
Well, yeah, well, I did.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know what, I was out of it, really.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get your injury?
Shrapnel.
Okay.
We were in a battle up in a place called Camduck, Special Forces Camp.
Mm-hmm. And they kind of overran us there. And a lot of us died, and a lot of us got wounded. Just about everybody was hurt in some way. And that's my story about that. Okay. So from there, did they just patch you up and send you back?
Well, they told me that where you break of a femur was an automatic trip home.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't for me. I still had to stay, though. I was there for 12 months. 12 months, 2 weeks. I don't know. I had it all down before. I can't think of it now.
Yeah, I used to keep count of the minutes and the seconds, too.
Well, we had short time calendars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yep. So what did you do the rest of your time there then, after you got wounded?
Well, I got sent. I thought I was going home,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't heal too fast. And I'm still complaining about that. When I get hurt. I'm usually right away. I'm healed, and so that's what happened. And I had to go back in the field,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up spending my whole 12 months. I can't think of the rest of it. 12 months that I spent in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was 12 and a half months. 12 months, 2 weeks, and I don't know. I used to remember that. Why wouldn't I remember it? But anyway, that's...
Okay. And then anything else happened there that you want to talk about?
Well, I had never seen a dead body before.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time in my life I ever saw any dead bodies.
All right. Well, talk to me about that. What was that like for you?
It was different because I had never seen death.
Mm-hmm.
All my buddies, one of my buddies' dad died when we were in high school, but I don't remember it at all. I don't remember being there or anything. But I get to Vietnam and I'm seeing death all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I had no way to handle that. And being a kid, I was just 18.
Yeah. Yeah. So that really kind of changes how you think about things, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, when I went home, I stopped over at my best friend's house, and he says, where you been?
Like he didn't know.
Like he just was screwing with me. But yeah, you're right. I didn't know. But...
So were there a lot of people a lot of your friends, did they get drafted as well, or was it just
me and the group?
okay?
Couple of guys in our little group signed up for it. One stayed stateside. I don't know what happened to the other one.
Okay.
But as far as I know, I can remember I was the only one actually in combat in out of that group.
Mm-hmm. What was it like to come home after that?
So surreal.
Uh-huh.
You know, you think people are going to treat you well, and we weren't treated very well. So we couldn't say stuff that we wanted to say because it wasn't polite or whatever.
Right.
You know, and that was hard.
Mm-hmm.
You have to deal with traumas like that.
Yeah.
You know, we made fun of it. We tried to, and we tried to, well, we tried to put ourselves out of that, you know, and I did. I went right back to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of my best friends joined up, got in the state police, and he was home. His dad was a builder.
Mm-hmm.
And we're coming and going all the time with the job. And Tommy would come home in the middle of the week, and we'd go get drunk and do stuff, you know. And we look back on it, or I look back on it, and I think, oh, that was a lot of wasted time. And he says, why don't you join up? You know, they're hiring now. So I did, and everything. I got in, and
mm-hmm.
I spent my career in there.
So talk to me a little bit about joining the state police. I know that the program is very difficult to get through. It's almost like going back, or it's actually, I think, worse in some ways than going back to.
There's nothing to compare to it.
Yeah, well, talk to me
My grandson he's a good kid
uh-huh.
and strong, and he went through it good.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I could have, not the way the pictures he had of his. And I also told him, when you get your badge, your mother's to pin that on you. Right? So, and I didn't, he come up and gave me the badge. I said, no, it's your mom's job.
Yeah.
No, I want you to do it. So I'm fiddling around with it. I said, come on, Aaron, put it on. So.
You must have been very proud.
Oh, yeah.
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 Well, so talk to me about your career with the state police. Kind of what do you remember about the training program and the decision that you made? And
I didn't know you'd have to be pounded as like we did. That was one of the toughest trainings I'd ever been in.
uh-huh.
Eric was that's my grandson. That's the cop now.
Yeah.
He said that's like the third most training in the nation is Michigan State Police.
Yeah.
It's the best training. You know.
It's several months too, isn't it?
Months.
I think it's like 16 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, 17 weeks.
Yeah. And so you made that decision, and was there any point during your training where you thought maybe you'd made the wrong decision?
Mm-hmm. Lots of times.
Yeah.
Boxing was one, and luckily I had enough wherewithal I did what I had to do, and you know, you don't want to hurt somebody because
right.
you're going to be working for. And as it worked out, we were in alphabetical order. We started 110 and graduated 51, and one didn't get off probation.
Wow. So that's a pretty big failure rate.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Did they still have the swim test when? Did
Oh
they
yeah.
have the swim
Called
test?
it the death swim.
Yeah. I understand that's very difficult.
Well, it wasn't so bad for me because I loved to swim.
Uh-huh.
But there was plenty of times that I was thinking, what the hell am I doing here? You know, and where they had the academy there in East Lansing at the old barracks.
Yeah.
I was 15 minutes and I was home. And that played on me made me think things through.
Yeah.
Because I can leave here in a heartbeat and be out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But
Now, did you go home on the weekends, though? Or were you there the whole
not
time?
not at the beginning. We didn't. We stayed there for the whole thing. And then it changed. We got to go home if we did good during that week. And it had to be everybody. If somebody was screwing off, you had to help them get out of it.
Right.
Because you wanted to go home. So that was tough to come home. But
What do you think your favorite part about the initial training was? What did you really enjoy?
I don't know if I enjoyed anything.
Yeah.
Because I'm not real good with, I'm not very smart. And you get a lot of things that you think back on, like, how the hell did I get through that? And then we had a year of probation. They don't have that now, do they? No. We had a year of probation. So we rode with somebody for a year.
Yeah. What was your first duty for the state police? Where were you at?
Patrol, Detroit, 7 Mile Grand River.
Okay.
The old Redford post. Then I told the post commander something I probably shouldn't have said to him. And next thing I know, it was on a holiday. Next thing I know, I'm being transferred to Ypsilanti.
Oh.
That's where she was born. Ypsi's Hospital. But I got out of Detroit just by calling him. I said some things I probably wouldn't have said.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a bastard.
That's a tough post anyway, the Redford post, isn't it?
Yeah, because we had so many townships around there at that time.
Yeah.
In fact, they pheasant hunted, if you headed west towards Northville, they had hay fields that had pheasants in them. And you could hunt pheasants there. That's the last place I hunted pheasants in this state. Was there.
Yeah, it's still pretty rural.
Pretty what?
It was pretty rural back then, yeah.
Yeah, one of the old timers that was there said you could shoot a rifle, it would hit Plymouth State Home and Training before it would get out of the post. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
That's just the way they talked about it.
Yeah. So how was the Ypsi post for you?
Riot.
Tell me about
I enjoyed that every minute of it. We were not every minute. We were involved in a couple of shootings and things like that, but it was neat. I mean, you knew what police work was, and if you didn't, you learned fast. That's the thing.
Did they have so when you were there in Ypsilanti, did they have the motorcycle club there? There's a clubhouse there now, but
there's a post there.
Right.
But they moved out, I think.
Okay.
It used to be in downtown Ypsi, right across from the bank. There's a drive.
Yeah. That
Arlen's groceries was on the other side of the post, and then the post was there. We were all jammed in. There was, that was the biggest post in the state at that time. Well, there was 10 or 12 detectives that worked out of the airport.
Yeah. And so were you still patrol then at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you recall, maybe one of the things that you remember most about being in Ypsi? Is there anything in particular?
Well, one thing, my wife I come home from work, and she was in the room crying, and I said, "What's wrong?" She says, "I had a lady banging into me with the cart when I was checking out." I said, "Why don't you turn around and belt her?" "Oh, I'm not that kind of, So that one got to me, and she said, "I want out of here." I put a letter in, and it was a year or two, I think, before I got out of there. And that was when my father died. Mary was still alive, but my father died. And he's the one he was my rock. If I needed something, I'd always ask him.
Yeah.
Good man.
That must have been very hard for you.
It was.
So when you left Ypsilanti, where did you go from there?
Lansing.
Okay.
I worked out of the Lansing post, and then I was there for a year or two, I don't know. I can't remember. And next thing I know, I worked narcotics. So I was all over the state. And we were working at different post areas.
Mm-hmm.
We worked at both, we did what they called, I can't think what they called it, but we'd work, there would be say PD, Weberville had a PD,
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't do anything manpower-wise, so we'd have to get in there and do it for them.
Yeah, they had the teams, right? You
Right.
had, like,
That was the start of the teams, where we
Okay.
had narcotics teams and investigative teams and stuff like that.
yeah, they had like they had Sweat down by Battle Creek, and they had
Oh, yeah.
Magnet up here, and
Huron, up in Ipsy was Huron area undercover. I forgot what it was. It was a word we made words out of that. I can't think what it was.
yeah, they all had an acronym that made a word. I remember that. Yeah.
But then that's where we retired.
Uh-huh.
We stayed there, and I think Jenny was born in Lansing when we were stationed there. So both the kids were with me when we went to Alpena.
Okay.
That's the post I worked out until I retired.
Now you have 2 children then.
2 girls.
Okay. Well, tell me about your daughters. I know one of them's standing here, so you got to be nice, but you can
They
tell
were
me.
good kids.
Yeah.
They couldn't do anything wrong though, because they always, every time they would do something wrong, I'd catch them, or I'd be told by one of the guys, "I saw your daughter here the other day." So they couldn't have freedom really, could you?
No.
It's like being a minister's child, I think.
Yes.
Well,
Same sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah, it could be.
Yeah. And so when did you retire from the state police?
You remember?
97.
Was it 97?
Okay. And what did you do after retirement? Because you were still a pretty young guy in 97.
Well, I got a job. I had a son-in-law and I that we started a little business of taking people up in the mountains on horseback.
Mm-hmm.
That was one thing, and then that didn't work out very well. And so,
Bailiff.
huh?
Bailiff.
Oh yeah, the sheriff wanted some help, so he asked me if I'd be a bailiff.
Uh-huh.
I said only if I can get October off, and he let me get off. And then then I got a job with probation, worked for a judge in Alcona County.
Mm-hmm.
Kids that were on, bad kids, I'd check on them,
Mm-hmm.
talk to them, and try to make them work, getting out of this stuff. But a lot of them, the parents were the reason the kids were so crappy.
Right.
I never saw that in my other jobs before, really. I mean, I knew it happened, but I never saw it like I did there.
Mm-hmm. You think you were able to help some of those kids?
I tried.
Yeah.
I had a kid in a dugout. This was over in Barton City. There's a dugout in the field, and he was down in there. And when I saw him, he was with a girl down in there, and I said, "What are you doing with her in here?" "None of your business." "Oh, really?" So I grabbed a hold of him, and I think that was the start of his change in life, because I was going to peel him, but he, being nice. "What are you in there for? You weren't talking baseball, were you?" It's like that. And, but I did that for quite a few years. I'd say 10 years or more.
You're also a fireman.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey, listeners, we need your help to keep the Veterans Archives podcast going. We're a nonprofit dedicated to preserving the stories of our nation's heroes, and we provide this service completely free to veterans. Your support helps us record, share, and archive these incredible stories so future generations never forget the sacrifices made for our freedom. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. Visit veteransarchives.org to contribute today. Help us honor their service by ensuring their voices are heard. And thank you for your support, and thank you to all the veterans who have served our country.
Oh,
You were a firefighter too?
you name it, I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that local then?
Yeah, Sanborn Township. It was Ossineque. It's 10 miles south of Alpena. It's a little burg called Ossineque. And that was Sanborn Township. That's where our fire department was, right at that intersection of 23 and Nicholson Hill.
Okay.
That was I didn't drive the fire truck only a couple of times because I was so far out.
Right.
But I could get to the fire and get it sized up by the time the fire truck got there. Then we got another fire truck, and then we got a tanker.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a good, I think it's the best in the state. Because when we had training, everybody showed up. We didn't get paid for training or anything.
Right.
We did later, but we didn't back then. So we did that. We were good.
Mm-hmm.
We saved a lot of buildings. I had one of the troops in Alpena say, "Well, I see you saved another basement."
I didn't think cops and firemen got along. So how'd you work that out?
Well, I was always taking crap from them, especially the firemen or the cops when I was a fireman.
Yeah.
And I'd just tell them to shut up and leave me alone or whatever. I don't remember just what happened, but I love some of those guys. One of them and I were involved in a shooting, and you get kind of tight with somebody when you're throwing lead at each other.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about that? About the shooting? What do you recall about that?
How God protected me.
Yeah.
I should have been dead. I was running up when he pulled the gun out. He had a sawed-off shotgun. I thought, I'm done here. I knew it. And I started running back towards the car when he fired, I had unburned powder in my eyes. So that's how close I was. Whew.
Other than that, you weren't injured though, huh?
No.
Wow.
He was.
Yeah.
That one, and we had one, I think we had one in Alpena, a shooting, but it wasn't like that. My shooting, the Ipsy, we had a shooting in Ipsy too.
What do you remember about that one?
I won, he lost.
Well, obviously. At the end of the day, that's kind of what matters, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was sleeping on the couch because my wife was having her.
Oh.
They were sleeping on the couch, and my wife never, ever, ever slept in. She was always up early. And I went into the refrigerator and got some orange juice and some vodka. I got plastered. Because that's the first time since Vietnam that anybody got hurt because of me. Yeah. I'll be nice and call it hurt.
That's tough as a veteran and even as a police officer to kind of reconcile that, isn't it?
You always wonder if you did right, especially when he went down. I thought, oh boy, this is going to be some reports here. But luckily, there were four of us. Two came on the car, the bad guy car, and then two of them started running, or one did. Name was Hill. He ran down, and our guys chased after him and caught him. He didn't know there were two up above. It was down on the freeway, back up from the edge of where it was all chain link fence.
Yeah.
And when we got there, I had a recruit, and we got there, and he was shooting. I said, hey, give me the gun, and I got it from him, and then I dropped one on him and told him hello.
Yeah.
So that one didn't hit home because we found out later that the guns he had on him, one was taken from a Pittsburgh police officer that was killed in the line of duty, and the other was a sawed-off shotgun that was Oklahoma State Police. So he killed at least two other people that we could trace back that were from him.
Definitely a bad guy.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mind that at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of it, when you're involved in the shooting, it kind of, you wonder if you're hoping it's right. You don't want to be doing anything wrong like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where this was, there's no doubt about it, this one.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's always that little voice in the back of your head that makes you wonder if you did the right thing or not.
Yeah.
But
could be.
Yeah.
Because he was a no good.
Yeah. So you, it sounds like you did a lot of different things. How did you end up here in Harrison?
My wife wanted to be for the kids,
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be by a lake. And one of the prettiest lakes in the state is Hubbard Lake.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't what she wanted. She wanted something away from that.
Uh-huh.
Something where I would be home. Most of the time when we were dating and stuff, I was always off doing something else.
Uh-huh.
And she got tired of that, wouldn't you say? And so we got here, and we had a farm.
Uh-huh.
We had farm animals and stuff, and had to give all that up for this.
Well, how did you meet your wife?
That's kind of a funny story, really.
Oh, I got to hear this.
The troops and I had I can't think of the name of the Italian restaurant in Lansing.
Emil's?
Not Ebel's?
Yeah, right on Michigan Ave there.
Yeah, it was on Michigan.
Emil's West, or
Yeah.
Emil's, yep.
Well, one of the guys in my recruit school, we were still in recruit school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, we were in retread school. And he set it up for a bunch of girls from the bank to come to that. And I, was with all these girls and stuff, and we're all milling around looking for mates, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think it was a while later, I went to a party. Well, I met her at Emo's.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to her on the phone, and I said, "You want to go out?" She said, "Yes." And when I got there to pick her up, it wasn't her. I had the names mixed up.
Oh, no.
Well, we dated for a little while, and finally that girl wanted to become a stewardess.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife, Mary, came up and said, "You want to go see a movie with me? I'll pay for it." I said, "Hell, how do you turn that down?"
Right.
So I didn't, and we met.
But Mary was the girl you meant to call at first, right? But you called the wrong girl?
Yeah.
So you just dated her anyway?
Yeah.
Why not?
She's a girl.
Yeah, why not?
I'm thinking they all got the same parts.
That's,
Well,
mostly, yes. Yeah.
That was how I met her.
Uh-huh. So she took you out on a date?
Yeah.
Okay. And then it was...
I never dated after that.
Yeah. Did you know pretty early on that you wanted to marry her, or did it take a little while?
I don't know. We built a place over in Island Lake off of Meredith. Are you familiar with that?
I am not.
18, it's north of Gladwin.
Okay.
We met there, and what was I talking about?
You were talking about you and your dad building the house
Oh,
on
yeah.
Island Lake.
And she helped. I was out doing hunting with my dogs and something, and she's back home, or back at our place.
Uh-huh.
And she, my dad said when we were getting ready to wash up, because he dug this big hole for the well. And I should have been helping him, but I didn't. I was out bird hunting, which I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know, Dad says, "This is your girl. You got to marry this girl." I said, why do you say that? I was free and dating lots of people at the time.
Even girls you didn't mean to date.
Well, that one did. That one was for sure that. Because when I walked into her house, I knocked on the door. She lived in an apartment in East Lansing. I knocked on the door, and she let me in, and I'm looking around. I didn't want to be stupid and say, because I thought her name was Mary.
Right.
And I knew that,
Yeah.
but I didn't know who she was. And when I went to pick her up, Mary wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to get out of this one?
So your dad figured out that Mary was the girl for you then?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Because she worked all day digging up that hole to put the wellhead in there. So.
Yeah. So did you take your dad's advice, or did you wait a little while?
Nope. Told my dad's advice, and we started dating more and more each. I mean, she was still working in Lansing.
Right.
I was in Ipsy. So on my days off, whoosh, I'd go get her and we'd go dance, whatever we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked out pretty well, I guess.
Yeah. How long were you married?
Oh, man, 45 years.
It was almost,
45 years.
50.
She was dead right here in the floor, the living room. She died right in here.
What happened? Don't know.
I think it was a heart attack.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
21.
Oh, okay. So not too long ago.
Yeah, she had just celebrated her birthday, and then a few days later she was gone.
Okay. All right.
There's something good out of everything bad. I got to see my daughter that I don't hardly ever see.
Uh-huh.
Erin's close to home, but Jennifer isn't. She's out in Utah
Yeah.
or Idaho, whatever one she was at. Idaho first. She's a PA.
Physician's assistant?
She did when she worked for the first doctor after school. She did a lot of. She was doing, when they cut them up, they did that. What's it called? The fat people. They cut you in.
The bariatric surgery?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she got that. She got that. I think. Well, I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about her living out in Idaho and being a
Yeah, and she was able to come home.
Yeah.
I got to see her. When I worked out there, I saw her all the time. She'd make the food for us up in the mountains and stuff. So that was kind of neat. But then that fell on deaf ears, so it was tough. That was a tough one.
Yeah. Now you have grandchildren too, right?
Almost great-grandchildren.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So how many grandchildren do you have?
7.
And 3 step.
Oh, okay. That's a big family. And then you have a great-grandchild on the way?
Born in August.
Okay. Do we know if it's a boy or a girl?
Boy.
Oh. Maybe another hunter in the family?
Maybe.
Yep.
Her husband, I got him a shotgun a while back because he's been helping with me with here and stuff. And her too. Everything she wants, I try to give it to him. And that makes things a lot easier for me.
Yeah. It's always good to have some help.
Yeah. And like Jim's, I think he was mowing. I just had surgery a couple weeks ago on,
Month ago.
what's it called? Prostrate. I had the shaved one. And I'm still recuperating, really, I guess, from that.
Yeah.
So that wasn't fun.
No, if it was fun, everyone would do it. It's definitely not fun.
No.
Not at all.
Hardest thing I ever had to go through.
Yeah.
When I got wounded, that wasn't no very big thing anyway. I got cold milk, something I hadn't had in months.
And for people who never served in the military, it's funny that you mentioned cold milk, because for me, that was like, when I could get cold milk, especially cold chocolate milk, it was a big deal. Because you just don't get it in the field. Everything's...
We used to get food brought out in these things called Mermite cans.
Yeah.
It would be like chicken and put some mashed potatoes and gravy, and they would always have little cartons of milk when they did that, which was maybe 3 times in my times in the field. Well, when I went to the hospital, got walking, I walked into the mess hall, cold milk, great big ball at the bottom of this rubber hose.
Yeah.
Filled up my coffee cup with milk and all the other stuff in there. And there was some Oriental Vietnamese washing dishes and cleaning up and stuff. And I wasn't very pleasant towards those kind of people because I'd been hurt by them and I saw them kill people. I know that's war. That's what war's about, I guess. And I didn't like that at all. But I was drinking the milk and I get another glass or a cup, the brown wooden trays.
Yeah.
Remember them?
I do.
And the cup was for coffee, but I drank milk. And I couldn't even eat because I drank so much milk and my stomach had shrunk. Or somebody said it like they thought that's what had happened because it came up.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't had that kind of food in a long time, it'll definitely...
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with sea rations, but that's what we ate when we were in the field. It's the crappiest stuff you ever did see. And some of it was dated in 42.
Yeah, World War II stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, when I came into the military, the sea rations were going away, and they had the MREs, the meals ready to eat, in the big plastic bags, which, by the way, were probably not much better.
Oh yeah, anything is better than those sea rations.
Yeah,
they were awful.
Now, did those have cigarettes in them?
Yeah, and guys would light them, and they were gone.
Well, that's because they were old.
Yeah, well, they were very dry, I would say. That's what made them burn so fast. I didn't smoke, so it didn't matter to me.
Right.
But
what kind of food, for anyone listening, what kind of food would be in a sea ration?
Well, they had some specialty things. One was spaghetti. Mm-hmm. That was probably the best. And then we had something with lima beans in it. Well, there's 3 things I don't eat. Lima beans is one of them. Mm-hmm. But you had to eat them.
Right.
Otherwise, you didn't get anything. And there was something, pork and beans. That was another one.
Mm-hmm. And this all came in cans, right? Like little.
And had a little you know what a P38 is?
I do.
And we'd open them with that, bend it up, and use that for a handle. Mm-hmm. And then we'd take C4 that you had in the mines. What do they call them?
Oh, the Claymore?
Claymore, yeah. We'd pick the glue or the C4 out of that, light it, and then heat our sea rations. And then I remember one time we'd put them out at night, because we always put those out at night, and they're facing out. And there was nothing to do. And their guys were popping Claymores. You know, we were in somebody was checking us to see how many there was of us.
Yeah. And
so we're trying to kill him with the Claymores.
Claymore mines, yeah.
You know, you hear pop. Because we used all the C4 for lighting our meals.
Well, maybe you scared him to death.
Well, most of the time they wouldn't come in.
Yeah.
But then once in a while there'd be a fully intact Claymore. Mm-hmm. And that would make it rumble the ground. But I remember the times when it would just bang. You're thinking, where the hell did that come from? I mean, in my early days there afterwards, it was.
Yeah.
You were used to all that stuff.
Did you find it was kind of amazing what you get used to?
Yes.
You know, compared to like when you first get there and by the time you leave, it's...
Well, we went 68 days without changes in uniforms. Mm-hmm. 68 days. That I'll never forget. And I was a radio operator, so a lot of times I'm writing on my pants or because in the rain, you can't use paper.
Right. For
coordinates and things. And so you'd use, right on my clothes. And the goose, or the bad guys, would smell us. They had to have smelled us. I mean, we were awful.
Yeah, but you all stunk, so I mean, no one really.
No, we didn't know it.
You didn't know it. You were nose blind at that point. Yeah, that's a long time, and it's hot and sweaty.
Oh
in
yeah,
the jungle.
68 days. I'll never forget that.
Were you on
Even with my loss of memory, I can remember that.
So were you on patrol for that whole 68 days then? Is that? What
I didn't go on patrol much
Okay.
because I had the radio.
Yeah.
There was a time or two that I had to go. The boss said you have to go out once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And that was okay. I didn't have any problem in it.
Yeah.
I never did any like leading away or anything like that. We had guys that did that.
Well, you don't want to put your radio operator out front anyway. That's.
Well, when I went to basic and then I got into AIT, I walked into the classroom and there was a big 9 on the clip or on the blacktop or on the chalkboard.
Mm-hmm.
9. And it was a few days we were in there and finally somebody said, "Hey Sarge, what's that 9 for?" It took you guys long enough to ask. He says, "That's how long you're going to be living when you get in a firefight. It's 9 minutes."
Wow.
So we kind of buckled down after that and didn't screw off. We wanted to get our training in so we knew what we were getting into.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing that was because of, I mean, it just wasn't, we didn't have an opportunity to change clothes.
Right.
We didn't carry extra clothes. We carried food if we carried anything extra. Water was another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mom used to send Kool-Aid that's by itself.
Yeah.
And then you shake it up in your canteen. And I mean, it tasted like shit anyway, but.
This tasted like cherry shit, right? Or grape shit or whatever flavor
Whatever
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah, I don't know what they do to the water in war, but it's never.
Well, we used to get these bladders,
Mm-hmm.
probably as big as this table, with little spigots.
Yeah.
Like 3 little spigots on the side. And that water tasted just as what that rubber looked like.
Mm-hmm.
It must have tasted like that. Well, it did. Because finally, you had to drink it. They'd bring that, a helicopter could bring that in, set it down, we'd all get our water, and then away it'd go.
Yeah. Yeah, and they sit out in the sun and get all nice
they
and
got
warm.
them,
And
they made it nice for us.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, anything else about your time in the military you want to talk about, or anything else that comes to mind that you'd like to share?
I don't know. You think of anything?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, then, for anyone listening to this in the future, what message would you like to leave for people?
Probably that I love them.
All right. All right, Bill. Well, thanks for spending an afternoon with me here. I appreciate it.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Veterans Archives podcast. We truly appreciate you taking the time to listen and honor the incredible stories of our nation's heroes. Don't forget, you can catch us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Wreaths Across America Radio, or stream past episodes anytime on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and as I've said before, any place you can find a podcast, you can find the Veterans Archives podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share our content on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and across all social media. Every share helps us reach more people and preserve more stories. The Veterans Archives podcast is a nonprofit initiative, and our mission is simple: to give veterans a voice and ensure their stories are never forgotten. This service is completely free for veterans because their sacrifices deserve to be recognized and remembered. You want to help? Follow us, spread the word, and if you know a veteran with a story to tell, send them our way. Visit us at veteransarchives.org to learn more about how you can get involved. Thanks again for tuning in, and most importantly, thank you to all the veterans and their families for their service and sacrifice. Until next time, take care, and we will see you on the next episode of the Veterans Archives podcast.